Hi everyone, and welcome back to Kimbo's Comfort Kitchen. And today we are going to take stock. Well, actually, we're going to make stock. I know, I can't help myself. But anyway, so you'd ask yourself, why on earth am I going to spend all this time making a beef stock when I can just go down to the store and get it out of a can or a box or whatever? Well, the answer is it's way different. You may not notice it, well, you may not think you would notice it, but it is huge. And it's also the foundation for making great sauces, for great gravies, great soups. It freezes well. So in my opinion, it's well worth the time. And besides, I like spending time in the kitchen, and it gives me time to ponder life, watch television, do all the rest of it. This takes a while to make. But at the end of the day, this foundation for this stock will make all the difference to a bunch of other sauces that I'm going to show you how to make in future episodes. Okay? So I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, please just tag me on my site. I'll be happy to answer them for you. All right? Ciao. All right, so the first step is very similar to what we were doing when we were making our turkey gravy, which is browning. So to start with, I'm using avocado oil. And as I said before, I get this at Costco. It's relatively inexpensive there. I'm going to rub that. And I'm using this tin insert because it's flexible and it fits in my little tiny oven. Otherwise I get stuck. So what you want to do when you're going to the butcher and asking for bones, ask for bones and look for stuff with marrow. This is the good stuff right in here. Right? Look at that. And I have a great butcher. I should mention I go to Chaffee's in Vancouver. They're amazing, by the way. I can't say enough good things about them. So once I've rubbed it in avocado oil, you can use canola or you can use vegetable, like any type of vegetable oil, but I wouldn't use olive oil. It is the wrong flavor, and it also has a lower smoke point. So those are all considerations you want to take into account. And now this step, as I said, is very similar to that of when you're making a turkey or a chicken gravy, but there will be some crucial differences later on. Right now, this is it though. We're going to put that in. I'm going to let that go in the oven at 350 for about, I'm going to check it out in about an hour. These are pretty big chunks, so it's going to probably take a little bit longer than normal. But I'm going to flip them and turn them around 30-40 minutes in. I want them nice and brown. The vegetables are going to get obviously nice and brown, and then we'll go from there. All right, we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So I'm going to take the bones out of the oven, and let's take a look and see what we've got. It's been in there now for over an hour, about an hour and 10 minutes, and I don't like to do them at 400. As I mentioned earlier, I did it about 350. I like it a little bit slower, and you can see how it's browned nicely and the marrow is starting to break down in the bones. Good selection of bones here, and the caramelization, or the Maillard reaction, which is a fancy word for caramelization, has taken place. So the next step is going to be transferring all of this into the stock pot. And now some French chefs prefer to saute the vegetables separately, but you know what? I find that it's just as good this way. I do not add tomato paste. A lot of people like to. And the other thing that the French don't do is they don't season. But I am going to season this, or I already did season it lightly. I didn't do it very much. You can see now the vegetables have caramelized. And all of this rich goodness. I'm going to peel off the bottom. And if I was using a regular pan, I would scrape it, and I would then bring it up to a boil and deglaze the pan. But I can't because I've got this thing. But not to worry, this will be just fine. So all of this goes in, and you'll notice there's a lot of fat that's going to go into. I'm going to also take a little bit of the water And even though I'm not deglazing the pan, I'm going to rinse this. I have a tiny kitchen, as you can tell, so I'm limited for space here. You'll have to excuse my photography. But that pretty much got most of it. And at this point, we're going to take, oops, that's wrong. I'm going to take cold water. So just to regroup here, I've now taken the bones, I've taken the vegetables, which I cooked at the same time in the oven at 350. Some people like to do it much higher at like 4 1/4. I prefer a slower roast. It still gives me the Maillard reaction that I'm looking for, the caramelization. And I'm now going to put cold water into this stock pot. And I'm going to cover it so it's just about 2 inches over everything. And then I'm going to put it on the oven, or on the stove, I mean. And I'm going to let that, I'm going to bring it to high, put on at high at first, just to get it to boil. As soon as it gets to a boil, I am going to reduce it to a very, very low simmer. And I can't tell you how important that is enough to have the low simmer. Okay, so that's pretty much it for now. And we'll talk in about 4 or 5 hours, okay? Okay, I lied. It's not 5 hours yet. This is actually just about 30 minutes in. But I wanted to show you the level of simmer that we're looking for. And this is important. So you want to keep it simmered. And another thing is, don't agitate the stock. Like, don't put a spoon in there and start mixing it and stirring it around. You just want this to sit exactly the way it is. And the reason is that you don't want a cloudy stock. Okay, if you're looking for something that's relatively clear, then don't stick your spoon in there, or anything else for that matter, and start scooping and straining and whatever. Just leave it alone. Forget about it. And I'm going to put this lid on, partially covered like that. Okay, and that's what we're going to do for now. Okay, so here we are. It's now 7 hours later, but that's just because I got carried away with cooking a bunch of other different stuff. I've taken it off, obviously it's not simmering anymore, and now the next step is just to get rid of all the big bits, which I'm going to put there. And I haven't stirred this, I haven't moved any of it while it's been simmering. So I'm going to take out all these big pieces first, if I can find them. And you can see they're falling off the bone. There's almost no flavor left in any of these pieces of meat. They're pretty much done. So once I take that out, like you're seeing right there, okay, I'm going to take all of those out. Once that's taken out, then we go to the next step, which is I'm going to use a sieve, and I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so I've taken all the big chunks out, and now it's time for me to strain out all the other stuff. And I'm going to take that out and put that into a bowl. There's going to be some great complexity to this stock, believe it or not, considering that I didn't add any seasoning. Okay, and you know what, I'm going to finish this up and that's it. Just watch what we do next. Okay, here we have, I've strained the whole thing out, and all the spotty bits on top, that's fat. That's going to coagulate when it cools. And this is about, this yielded almost 16 cups of stock, of really good beef stock. And that's it for now, but this is going to be the foundation for a lot of sauces that I'm going to start making in the next little bit. So stay tuned. once I've got this all packaged and put away, then I'm going to show you some stuff like excellent beef gravies that you can make ahead of time, bordelaise for steaks, etc., etc. I mean, there's just so many things that we're going to do with this stuff. It's going to be exciting.